Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Usually we do this at 8, but with the Tower Joseph stuff, with the lounge passes, we did that at 8 today, and we'll do it at 8 again on Monday and Tuesday, get you into the Tower Joseph of 21 Pilots Lounge. But now it's time for Case's movie review, and we're doing horror movies. Last week he did The Shining, and he's going to do October all the way through Halloween, more horror movies. And
of course,
this whole thing, if you've just joined the show, it's different times. Maybe there's different people listening. About 6, 7, 8 months ago, Case, the producer, I got tired of just making movie references and him not understanding any of them. So we started watching movies. He did, because he has Boys in the Hood was the only movie he'd seen at this time. Oh, sorry.
Hi there,
I don't
Brian.
think mine is either. There it goes.
Go ahead.
Now my mic's on. Boys in the Hood and Norbit were the only movies that I was really intimately familiar with.
Yes. And now he's seen things like Shawshank Redemption and Fight Club and Pulp Fiction, and he's a better person for it.
Point Break, one of my favorites.
Oh, I love it. Love it. So I'm really curious about Saw because he hates horror movies. You didn't really give The Shining the best review.
No, I did not give it a good review at all. I hated that movie.
We're not going to revisit that. 'Cause I'm gonna
Was it 3 axes out of 10?
It was 2 axes out of 10.
Terrible review.
It was the least favorite movie in the 6 months we've been doing this that I've watched thus far. I like
Settle
Braveheart
down.
more, and I really did not like Braveheart.
Yeah, so this is the lens of a 25-year-old that's seeing these movies. Some of them 40 years old, some 30, and today's is about 20 years old. The movie Saw is next up on the docket.
Thank you, Kenzie.
Yes.
So we start
I
off.
picked all the horror movies.
Yes,
This is my realm.
And you did a good job. And
Thank you.
That's why we went a little further before October, because 4 was great, but we needed 6. And this is what we picked, Saw, and this is the trailer from, is this 2004? 2004.
20 years old.
20 years old Saw is now. God, I thought it was like 3 years old. All right, so for the first movie, the debut of Saw, here was the trailer.
Hello, Adam. Dr. Gordon. I want to play a game.
The Jigsaw Killer.
Paul, find the path with a razor wire.
Technically speaking, he's not really a murderer. He never killed anyone.
Dr. Gordon, your aim in this game is to kill Adam. If you do not, then Diana will die.
He finds ways for his victims to kill themselves.
Live or die. Make your choice.
This movie was a game changer because I can remember that commercial right now, and I'm getting goosebumps. I remember it from 20 years ago when it came on because it was different. It wasn't a typical slasher horror movie with a lot of blood and some supernatural killer. This was just a guy on a creepy ass bike. And dolls and that kind of thing are always creepier than people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Case, take it from here. Your review of the movie Saw.
Well, I'll start with a question because, you know, we obviously talked about the fact that I was going to do this on the show yesterday, and that I always on my Instagram story the night before after I watched the movie, I just hype up the fact that we're going to be talking about this around 8 o'clock on Fridays. And I was inundated with DMs all day yesterday of like, oh my God, you're not going to sleep. Oh my God, you're going to be a different person. Are you okay? What's going on? Have you checked in with anybody since you watched Saw?
Yeah.
And I have the question for you guys, since I spend more time with you than I do my actual family.
Yes.
Do I seem different today? Do I seem affected? Do I seem afflicted? Do I seem like a different man post-Saw?
I think you seem nicer.
Oh.
I feel like I was like, oh, Case is actually kind of nice today. It seems like he's in a good mood, and maybe that's because you want to appreciate life, so you don't get locked up in a dirty bathroom and have to cut your foot off.
Could be it.
Yeah,
Could be it.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Part of that. No, yeah, you seem light and bouncy today. Very
bouncy.
Very affable. Yeah.
Good word.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I've always avoided the horror genre. I've always considered them to be movies for demented, sick people. I don't understand why anybody would make them. I don't understand why anybody would watch them. People that base their personalities around it, it's very, very odd to me. I was not wowed by The Shining. Again, worst movie that I've watched for this project.
I don't think we need to keep leaning into that.
And then I sat down to watch Saw yesterday, and I expected the worst. I expected to be, again, shaken, disturbed, bothered. And I have to say, this was a pretty good movie.
Okay.
Maybe I am sick and demented. Maybe this movie spoke to me on a level that I wasn't expecting. For starters, I thought it was going to be so much more violent than it was. It really, I mean, look, there's a few scenes I had to cover my eyes, but way less than I thought I was going to.
Did you really cover your eyes, like put your hand over your eyes while watching TV alone in your apartment?
Yes.
sometimes you can't look. I can't look at the needle scene. That's the one that gets me.
Oof.
The needle scene, which was especially traumatic for me yesterday because I did get blood drawn before I watched Saw. I had to go to the doctor and get a
So you
physical.
can totally relate to what she went through, obviously.
100%, yes. I was like, oh my God, that was just me.
Yeah, pretty much the exact same thing happened to you and her. Pretty much.
You're like, I feel you. You was like you're watching a movie of yourself.
I thought it was a documentary about me. That
tough.
scene, and then, of course, and spoilers coming ahead, but when he does saw off his own foot,
Yeah.
that was tough. That one I closed my eyes for. I didn't
Right.
even like the
That would
sound of
hurt.
that. Yeah, that's not good.
I couldn't stub my own toe on purpose. I'm just gonna probably be here.
I instantly when I saw that the first time, I just said, could I do it? Could I do that?
No.
And I don't know. I might just tap out.
That's okay. I'm glad you said that because that's really where I was viewing this movie through the lens of when I watch a movie, I think, oh, who would I be in this story? What would I be doing? Even when I watch Boys in the Hood, I'm like, yeah, there's a role for me in here. I could have been in this movie.
Oh, sure.
But when I watch Saw, and they reveal very early on, they're like, all right, so the Jigsaw killer, he doesn't actually kill people. He tortures them until they kill themselves. At that moment, I would be out so quick. I am not in the Saw universe. I don't want any part of this. If I was stuck in a room with either of those annoying men who were just awful actors, awful performances throughout the entire movie, I would have gone very quickly. This was not a universe that I wanted to exist in at all.
Well, obviously, I don't think anyone's like, I hope that's me one day.
But they at least had the fortitude to tough it out. I would have not. I would have said, yeah, I'm actually going to electrocute myself in the bathtub real quick.
I absolutely see these movies and go, I would die. I couldn't complete the tasks. I'm not good when everyone's like a lot of pressure, ticking clocks stresses me out. I don't like when things hurt.
Even if you know you're going to die.
I think I would suck at
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Suck at living?
I can't see me cutting through anything or do it. I'd be in a bad way.
I don't know. I don't know the reputation this movie has. I know it's spawned. It's like Fast and Furious, but for demented people. You know, it's got like 12 sequels to it.
Correct. Well, they have actually a Saw X like Fast and Furious X. They have the 10.
One and the same. They should merge universes at some point. You know how Family Guy and The Simpsons did a crossover episode?
Yes.
The next Fast and Furious should be in with the Jigsaw Killer. That'd be awesome.
Be amazing.
I don't know. I mean, Brian, what do you think about this movie? Because I came in, I thought I was going to have this laundry list of things I hated about it. I was going to criticize Kenzie for making me do this.
Per usual. How often does Case go home and think he's going to criticize me the next day? It has to be every night.
Can't wait to get in early to criticize Kenzie.
This is what I'm dealing with.
I wake up before the rooster crows just so I can do it early.
I'm going to criticize Kenzie tomorrow.
So I do really like this movie, and we put it in here because it was kind of a game-changing movie of that time.
Okay.
That's why we put it in one of the lists. Now, the ones coming up in October are more of your classics that you all recognize and
We'll
love.
talk about that next week when we hit October. No spoilers.
But I thought this movie, like, I kind of was arguing with this one and the Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
And for me, like, and I bowed to Kenzie on this one to take Saw because I would have probably said Blair Witch Project because of how much that affected me in a terror way.
And I love Blair Witch. Keep in mind, there's going to be more than one October. So people are like, it has to be this movie. We will do this again. I think Saw unleashed its own, like you said, there's 17 movies, cult following. 1 million people dress up as Jigsaw. I kind of thought Case would commit and come in with a little tricycle today. He didn't. Lame.
Oh.
But
I'm at least glad I know where that character came from now.
exactly.
Because Halloween, it's like I enter a different country where I don't know the customs because everybody has a costume that I don't recognize during Halloween. They're like, I'm this scary guy. I'm like, cool, never heard of him. I had no idea this is where that guy was from.
And just so you know, a lot of what we're tackling, if you can think of every iconic character you could be for Halloween, it's a lot of what Case is going to watch because he needs to understand the basics of murder.
You've only seen this as a meme, pretty much, or on Halloween if someone pulled it off.
And then I don't even understand it.
Yeah, so that's why this movie for me I was fine with it picking this one because it had to be in there, a game changer, a psychological torture movie that probably is elite, I would say.
I liked it. I thought the story was compelling. To me, the scariest part of the movie was not the needles. It was not the guy sawing off his own foot, which then I got confused if the movie was called Saw because of the Jigsaw Killer or if it was called Saw because he sawed his foot off. I don't have an answer to that. I don't know if you know.
I've been thinking about it for 20 years.
Or
Still don't have an answer.
Maybe they just saw some things. I don't know why the movie's called Saw.
I think it's one of those, what is it, a double entendre? Because it's like, it's like a play.
Yeah.
Because it could be the three things.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Or a triple entendre at that point.
Okay.
The scariest part of the movie is you have the two guys in the room, right? And then you have the doctor's wife and daughter who are being held captive in their own home. Do we all follow? Do we all remember this?
Yep.
Yes.
I say this with all love and respect to the child that was in this movie. But the child unlocked one of my great fears in life of having a child that has creepy girl face. This child looked like she would be kidnapped. She was the perfect look of somebody that was going to live a tortured life that had this just terrifying look on her face. There is outright violence in this movie. Nothing to me was scarier than the look that girl had in her eyes the entire movie. She just looked like somebody that would be in this situation.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She had that face. She had that face of somebody that's like, oh, man, that's a tough draw.
Yeah.
You are going to be held hostage in your own home at some point.
So
That's tough.
Anything else you want to add before we get to your rating?
It was so much better than I thought it was going to be. I feel like I disappointed people by not coming in all terrified and tortured. But again, I try to like all of these movies. And sometimes I am dealt a horrible deck of cards like The Shining. And sometimes I am delightfully surprised by a movie like Saw. Now, I never watched this again. I would never watch this for fun. The only reason I watched this is because Kenzie made me.
Yep.
But I have seen so many worse movies in my life. This really was not that bad.
Hey,
Okay.
Thank you. Good pick. Haha. Wait,
Ha-ha.
let me pass. If you decide to watch the rest of the Saws, see all the Saws. Okay.
Seesaw?
And you picked up on it. And you see Saw. If you see Saw 6 and Saw 3D, if you pay attention to those two, I need to point out characters to you because if you're anything like me, you used to watch the competition show called Scream Queens, where if you won, you won a role in a horror movie.
Okay.
And I wanted to be on it. Every competition show, like, it faded out by the time I got old enough to be on them, which sucked because I wanted to be on Scream Queens. I wanted to be on Rock of Love. I wanted to be on all the competition shows. It never got to be. But two of the winners from that were in those Saw movies. And it's like a deep hole.
Not in the first movie, though? It wasn't Shawnee Smith as Amanda.
It was Saw 6 and Saw 3D. Tandra Howard and Gabby West, they were the winner of Scream Queens. And they're in those movies because that competition show.
Yeah. I got to say, I loved Amanda. I had such a crush.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, God. Her name is Shawnee Smith, the actress. And, oh, my God.
Not an ideal situation for her, but you're right. Very cute.
Oh.
Very, very cute. So, Kenzie, before I give my rating for Saw, what am I watching next week? Because you're directing this whole ship. What am I doing next week?
Okay, so here's what's happening in October. We are doing...
Sounds like a cruise ship director.
This is October, baby. We are going to be doing... like the serial killers, okay? Well, think of every Halloween costume. So obviously we hit Jigsaw this week. Throughout October, he's going to be doing the Mount Rushmore, okay? We're talking Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason, and Scream himself, which will be next week.
Are you doing Scream? You want to do Scream next week?
I want to do Scream next week.
Oh, okay. We'll save
because
Halloween
it's
for
a
Halloween.
Little, Halloween's for Halloween,
Okay.
and then we can figure out the other two in there. I think Scream is the polar opposite of Saw. It's like the original slasher. I'm on a phone. Drew Barrymore's in it, like hot and bothered Halloween murder movie. And I'm ready for a case to kick October like that.
And the fun part about Scream is the parody movies done by the Wayans brothers, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are incredible. You will watch those on your own probably after, like, Scary Movie is so
Yes,
good.
Scary Movies.
It's so good. So the parodies of the Scream movies are almost better than the Scream movies, but they're really good. Don't get me wrong. It's a pivotal movie again. Scream was, because I remember when it came out, everybody had to go see Scream.
Oh, it's iconic, and I think it's the perfect way to kick off October. So you
Yes.
kind of need to see the Mount Rushmore of serial killers.
Kenzie, that is great to know. We'll do that next week. As for Saw, I'm going to rate it out of 10 Saws, because I
Okay.
feel like that's fair.
Fair.
Yes?
It's still not a genre of movie that I would ever watch on my own. It's not my sort of thing, but I feel comfortable giving this a solid 5 Saws out of 10. This is a very watchable movie. I expected to hate it. I did not. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that from Twister, one of my favorite movies we watched for this, Jonas the Nightcrawler is one of the main characters in this movie.
Yeah, he's the doctor. And he is also in Twister, and he is Jonas, and our favorite line of any movie of all time.
Jonas, son of a bitch.
Who is that, honey?
Jonas Miller, he's a night crawler. We all started out in the same lab, and Jonas went out and got himself some corporate sponsors. He's in it for the money, not the science.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.